Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased now to yield to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Ron Paul, 3 minutes.
Gentleman from Texas, Mr. Paul, is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you for yielding. I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think what we're doing here today has a contest between who's the most patriotic. I don't think that's it at all. Nobody here in the debate is unpatriotic, but I think it's defining patriotism, possibly. But I'm concerned that we're going to do something here today that Castro did in Cuba for 40 years. There's a prohibition against flag burning in Cuba. And that one of the very first things that Red China did when it took over Hong Kong was pass an amendment similar to this to make sure there's no desecration of the Red Chinese flag. So that's some of the company that we're keeping if we pass this amendment. But a gentleman earlier on said that he fears more of what's happening from within our country than from without, and I agree with that. But I also come down the side that's saying that the threat of this amendment is a threat to me, and therefore we shouldn't be so anxious to do this. I don't think you can force patriotism. I also agree with the former speaker who talked about responsibility. I do think it's responsibility, but it has something to do with rights. You can't reject rights and say it's all responsibility, and therefore we have to write another law. Responsibility implies a voluntary approach. You cannot reach patriotism by authoritarianism, and that's what we're talking about here. I think we all agree with the respect for the flag and respect for our country. It's all on how we intend to do this. And also this idea about veterans. Because you're a veteran, do you have more wisdom? I wouldn't think so. I'm a veteran, but I disagree with other veterans. And Keith Krul, who was a past national commander of the American Legion, had this to say: "Our nation was not founded on devotion to symbolic symbols, but on principles, beliefs, and ideals expressed in the Constitution and its Bill of Rights. American veterans who have protected our banner in battle have not done so to protect a golden calf. A patriot cannot be created by legislation." And he was the commander, national commander of the American Legion. So I'm not less patriotic because I take this different position. Another member earlier mentioned that this could possibly be a property rights issue. I think it has something to do with the First Amendment and freedom of expression. That certainly is important. But I think property rights are very important here. If you have your own flag and what you do with it, there should be some recognition of that. But the retort there is, oh no, the flag belongs to the country. The flag belongs to everybody. Not really. If you say that, you're a collectivist. That means you believe everybody owns everything. Who would manufacture the flags? Who would buy the flags? Who would take care of them? So there is an ownership. If the federal government owns a flag and you're on federal property, I mean, without this amendment, you don't have the right to go and burn that flag. If you're causing civil disturbances, that's handled another way. But this whole idea that there could be a collective ownership of the flag, I think, is erroneous. May I have one more minute, please?
Yes, of course. I'd be pleased to give the gentleman an additional minute.
Gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
The First Amendment, we must remember, is not there to protect non-controversial speech. It's to do exactly the opposite. So therefore, if you're looking for non-controversy in the First Amendment, that contradicts each other. But let me just look at the words of the amendment. Congress, more power to the Congress, will get power, not the states, opposite of everything we believe in, or at least profess to believe in on this side. To prohibit. How do you prohibit something? You'd need an army on every street corner of the world. You can't possibly prohibit flag burning. You can punish it, but you can't prohibit it. That word needs to be changed eventually if you ever think you're going to get this amendment passed. Physical desecration. Physical, what does it mean? If you sit on it, are you going to arrest them and put them in jail? Desecration is a word that was used for religious symbols. In other words, you're either going to lower the religious symbols to the state, or you're going to uphold the state symbol to that of religion. So therefore, the whole word of desecration is a word that was taken from religious things, not state symbols, and maybe it harps back to the time when the state and the church was one and the same. But I urge a no vote on this amendment.
The gentleman's time has expired.